Good morning. It's July 19th. Mondays are the days I normally walk along the creek, which I'm still going to do, but I'm going to walk along the creek to the university instead of walking in the other direction like I normally do. So I'm at the west end of Wascana Lake here, but I'm going to go under the bridge and over to the other side and then all the way down to the university is the plan. It's quite a pleasant temperature this morning. It's a mixture of cloud and smoke, I think, looking at the atmospheric conditions. And it's not supposed to be as hot today either. It's going to 27 or 28, I think, today. I don't know, I think I'm feeling a slight drizzle. Not enough to get wet, but just that little flick of moisture. On the plus side, if you say anything to me today on here, on the live stream, I should be able to see it. The creek is flowing very quickly under here for some reason. You can actually see the difference in the water there as it comes out on the other side, which is interesting. So we're going under the bridge here. But more slowly, there's always water under the bridge here. It's funny because the hourly forecast just says sunny, no risk of rain, and yet it's definitely cloudy. That's not just smoke, and it's definitely spitting a little bit. It might actually be chilly this morning, which will be a change. So we're underneath the Broad Street Bridge here. The lake continues on this side. I'm calling it the creek because it is, after all, just a dammed creek. Not a dam creek, but a dammed creek. So we're heading up here by the Connexus Art Center. Oh, I don't have my strap on here. And then once I've done my walk, I'm heading out to the Wascana Country Club to write, or edit really, revise. Working on the Tangled Stars, and I'm editing stories for the Shapers of Worlds Volume 2 anthology featuring second-year guests on my award-winning podcast, The World Shapers. I had to stop 3 times driving through the park to get to where I parked because of geese crossing the road. They don't do it in a hurry either, even when you see you coming on foot or in a car. Apologize for the wind noise, of which I'm sure there's some. It's quite breezy this morning too, which kind of surprises me as well. Morning. So, gray day. Speaking of the podcast, I did have a new episode yesterday. Ryan Van Loan is a tour author. Has a trilogy. The first 2 books are out now, called The Fall of the Gods. Interesting fellow. He was, for 6 years, he was a sergeant in the U.S. Army Infantry, Pennsylvania National Guard, front lines of Afghanistan. So he has some interesting experiences to draw on in his writing, I'm sure. If you didn't see yesterday's live streamed walk, if you go to, I think it's 5450, thereabouts, you'll discover that I surprised 2 cops in the trees. They were basically standing up against a spruce tree like this, but it kind of blended in. with the radar gun, just where the playground. Now, what are they doing over here? There's the Connexus Arts Center. They were right where the playground speed limit shifted back, and clearly catching people who had not slowed down for the playground. Tents. Oh, right, they're having concerts. That's right, outdoor concerts. So the Connexus Arts Center there is our main, and here's the stage right in front of me. It's our main indoor theater for big productions come to town, like, you know, The Wiz and, Wizard of Oz. Wicked is actually what I'm trying to say. Cats, Jersey Boys, you know, that sort of thing. But right now they're having outdoor concerts, or planning them anyway. And there's the stage. Another good reason to walk this way, make it more interesting. Be more interesting if there was actual concert happening, I guess. Or if they're just setting up, or if the concerts have, if there's already been a concert, or if it's this weekend, or what exactly. Straight ahead of us is the Saskatchewan Science Center, where on the other side of the lake, where I began my career in Regina in 1988. I moved up here at the ripe old age of 29. Was communications officer there for 5 years. And if you go in there, you'll still see I wrote most of the words that are still in there on the walls. Certainly more than half, even with changes over the years. Because I also did some freelance work for them after I left. I don't know what that island's called. It probably has a name. This is going to take us past the waterfowl park here. I like gray mornings, actually. I mean, sunshine is nice, but I've always kind of enjoyed gray, slightly hazy mornings. It seems more interesting. I prefer bicyclists who actually let you know they're coming. More geese. Well, so far nobody has said hello, but I'm here. If you're there, say hi on Facebook or YouTube. I'll keep an eye on my blue flashing light that tells me that my mic is still working, because it hasn't been charging reliably, and twice now it's stopped in the middle of a walk. Lots of geese. Morning. Morning. Go the Wascana Waterfowl Park display ponds. Can't walk down there. It's locked up. I don't know when it's open. The fences are definitely to keep people out, not to keep birds, you know, because of wings. This is just the parking lot on this side of the Connexus Arts Center. There's the pond over there. Don't actually see any waterfowl on it. They're mostly over here. Oh, well, maybe there's something under the little footbridge there. There's the theater. And there's the university ahead of us in the haze, which we are walking to, or which I'm walking to. You're just watching. Definitely some of this is smoke. I can kind of smell it. The haze is probably mostly smoke, but there's also cloud. I don't think that's just heavy smoke over us. Could be wrong. Lots of forest fires burning in the west. We're supposed to get possibly some rain tomorrow, which would certainly be nice here. Doesn't do much for wherever the forest fires are. Nor, oddly enough, does the rain clear the air. It can rain and still have smoke. As we know from previous years when there's been smoke from northern forest fires. Aren't any nearby forests. Maybe Moose Mountain, maybe? Moose Mountain Provincial Park, which are some low hills that are forested. Might be the closest substantial forest to Regina. I mean, there's trees in the river valleys and stuff like that. But I wouldn't call what's in Capel Valley forest very much. Woods, maybe. Stands of woods. Okay, technically this is the creek. It's just still a lake here because of the dam. Now last time, or the first time I walked out this way, I lost my signal. Not here, but further down the path, so I'll keep an eye out for that too. Over there is Douglas Park Hill, which I've climbed up a couple of times to get a great panoramic view of the city. I like walking on these paths on weekday mornings. There's typically fewer people. More geese though. Wascana Drive up there where the cars are. Of course, the other exciting thing happening this week is tomorrow is my birthday. I'll walk. It's my birthday and I'll walk if I want to. And I will. Then we're going over to my niece's house for my birthday dinner tomorrow night and see their new baby up close as opposed to waving from a distance. Well, not so new anymore. She's over a year old now. My great niece, I guess. All my nieces are great, but you know what I mean. That's where we're headed. It's nice to take a cool walk again. It's been a while since it really felt cool when I was walking. The Wascana Drive is up there. We'll walk along it on the way back, more direct. And still nobody has checked in to say hello. It's unusual. I usually get at least one person. Here comes a jogger up behind me. Someone was going the other way when I started. Another island over there. This will be a very different walk if I come down here in the wintertime. All this is frozen and the wind's blowing directly across that expanse of ice. This will be a very cold place to walk. Lovely. Still in the middle of Regina. Again, no bell on that bike. Didn't know she was there till she went by. If I decided to point at the lake, I would have hit her in the face. Cyclists, warn pedestrians when you come up behind them. I don't know why it just turns into a sidewalk here after being a path. It's still a path. But it doesn't stay a bike path, it turns into a sidewalk. Wascana Drive. Getting closer to the university with every step. There it is over there. It's taken me less than 20 minutes to walk to here, so. Sure, you can hear the wind. Looking back that way. Again, that hill over there. Doesn't look like much from here, but when you climb up it, that little bit of elevation gives you a great view of the city. So we're almost to the campus. It's the other side of that road is kind of the campus. Morning. We have come to a fork in the road, but we will take the path to the left, which may or may not be the path less taken. Probably is, because if you were walking to university, you'd go on up there. And we're going to continue to follow the path around the outside of it for a little bit. The jogger headed this way. Patches of wildflowers. We'll call them wildflowers. They might be called weeds, but they're not dandelions. Same color. And the lake's over there all this time, so I'm still walking along the creek, as tradition insists I do on Mondays. And again, university is right there. I won't walk over there today, but the thing in the middle there is a beautiful sculpture by Joe Fafard. It's called the Garden of the Mind. I walked into it before. I won't do that today because I'm more focused on walking. But it's university. North side of the university, which is basically one big square campus. Right down here by the lake. Creek. Wide spot in the creek. I guess it's still a lake down here. Very lonely walk today. Not a single greeting from anyone. 22 minutes in. It's unusual. Oh, I just saw today is Roger's birthday. Roger, who's a regular viewer of these and was our wedding photographer. So happy birthday, Roger. Sometimes he's watching on Facebook. Didn't know we had a birthday that close to each other. How do I know that? Facebook just popped it up and I could see it. How old will I be tomorrow? I was born in 1959. You do the math. Different views of the university buildings as we continue this way. Always a different view of the lake over here. So if we look back that way now, you're looking to downtown in the haze way up in the distance there. More artwork up here. Getting close to First Nations University of Canada. And you can see the First Nations influence on that piece of art. I've walked over there too, but again, today I'm just going to keep walking on the path. I wish people were saying hello today because I could read it so easily in this haze and fog, and not fog, smoke. Smoky haze and cloud cover, or possibly smoke cover. The signal has stayed good. I'm sure the first time I walked over here it was right along here or a little further up, but I lost the signal, and so far I've had no warnings of... Oh, there's somebody. Hi, Kirk, in Vancouver. I can actually read the screen because of the haze, smoke and cloud that we've got going on right now. Just coming up to the university. Started down by the Connexus Arts Center, actually in the parking lot for the Bar Willow and the marina. Just going to go around the university and then head straight back along Wascana Drive, which is a much shorter path because it's the straighter line. It should be about the right time for today's walk. So there's First Nations University of Canada coming up. It says right there on it, First Nations University of Canada. Designed by Cardinal. Doug, is it Doug Cardinal, the architect? I think so. We'll leave the path up here and walk down to the main university campus. We'll cut through the grass to do that. Still a path, but I could stay along the creek for quite a bit further. I don't know exactly what happens to that path once it gets out to wherever it gets out to. I don't know where it ends or how. So one of these days I'll walk out there. Today I'd like to get going on writing and editing. Very good at blending into the landscape, this building. And of course it has the TP references. University ahead of us. I don't know why he's wearing a mask, but mine is not the reason why. Maybe it's the smoke. It does more good against smoke than it does against viruses. So it probably does almost nothing. Despite what people think. Doesn't seem to be what I see in the actual research. But that's a different rant, which I've done before. Alright, so here we are at the university main campus. It's a very attractive building. Over here, University of Regina. Like I said, it's a big square, so we're just going to walk around the square and then we'll be headed back to the car. Oh, and there are some actual TPs set up in front. In addition, over on this side, there's a huge glass TP, which we won't see till we get a little further ahead. This is actually the front of the building in a way, I guess you'd say. Maybe get a better look at it when we get a little further up. I can turn around and well, I'm going to go to the right when I get to this next road up here. But yeah, there we go. Sort of see the glass teepee in the front. So, First Nations University of Canada. There are no paths here. Why are there no paths? Once you get to here, you're not supposed to be walking anymore. You're supposed to be heading into the parking lot, I guess. We'll walk down here, and then we can get closer to the buildings. Luther College here. My daughter went to Luther College High School, but did not come to the University of Regina to continue your affiliation with Luther College. I'd walk over there, but there's a vehicle in the way, plus sprinklers. Now, oddly enough, my daughter is in kinesiology, but she's at the University of Toronto, and we'll be going back very soon. This is where she would hang out if she were studying it here. We'll go a little closer this way. Scenic view of the entrance to the parkade. We'll go down in front of the gym here. That's what this building is. It also has, at least it did have, various doctors' offices in here too. I remember taking Was it Alice or somebody else that we came here for a doctor's appointment? She used to come here for a couple of summertime programs. She was here, and there's something called EYES Camp, which is educating youth in engineering and science. I think some of it was in here. They had the National Science Fair in here one year. She wasn't in it, but she was quite taken with it. And she went on to be part of SHAD, which shad.ca I think is the website. It's quite a remarkable program for high achieving high school students at various university campuses. So she went to Ryerson for hers. Perhaps slightly unfortunately, it was their first year at Ryerson. And we had the distinct feeling that they weren't very, I won't go down there because of all the kids standing around waiting for some program they're going to. We felt perhaps they hadn't quite worked out the kinks of having something at Ryerson, but still, she made wonderful friendships. And the saddest I've ever seen her was the morning they broke up and we picked her up. Even though we were going on to Shaw Festival in Stratford, she was very, very blue that morning. But she's, oh yeah, see, all these kids waiting to go in for some program that's going on right now. So I'll go over here rather than point the camera at them. This could be EYES Camp right here. Don't know. This is the education building we're going by, and that's where the check-in always was, and drop her off here. Now we'll go over here. Oh, lots of kids up there too. It must be EYES Camp. For all that it was cool, I'm now feeling very warm. Walking will do that to you. It's another scenic arcade entrance. Now, theoretically, you could go through that connection into the academic green, but it's probably locked since there's no classes going on. Maybe sometime I'll be able to do that. I wouldn't mind taking a short trip through the building with the camera, but I suspect somebody would not like me to wander around inside the university buildings with a camera. Even though I suppose kids do it, I don't know. But I would feel a lot about it, so I won't do that. Over here is Research Place. Various research facilities, including down at the end, the Roy Romano Provincial Laboratory, where your COVID-19 tests would be taken for evaluation, at least in the early going. You can see down there the sign says theater. This is the Riddell Center over here. And my main connection to it is the University Theater. Back in there you can see the fly up there. So I've performed in there many times, and my daughter's performed in there many times. And I've been to many shows there many times, so. Ah yes, I know it well. It's also the student center. So there's food courts and a computer lab and various things in there. I presume the student union has offices in there somewhere. And out front there's some artwork. We've now turned the corner and are headed back to the car. receptions in there, post-show reception. And although this is primarily pedestrian, this is like when my mother-in-law was coming to shows and she needed a lot of help. We could come up here, pull right up here, take her in, and then there's an entrance that an elevator will take you down to the handicapped entrances, the wheelchair entrances, which are below grade. Theater seats about 350, I think, if I remember. And it's a teaching theater, so it's fully equipped with fly space and ropes and pulleys and all that. What it doesn't have is a decent orchestra pit. They built one, but they cheaped out on it. And they just put a platform in it that was built on scaffolding. So you had to dismantle this scaffolding to use the orchestra pit, which we did a few times. But it felt like every time you did that, there were screws or bolts that somehow didn't make it into the scaffolding, which, you know, tends to worry you. And eventually they said, that's it. We'll never use this again. And I don't know how they finalized that. I haven't been down there to see what the old orchestra pit, which is be full of scaffolding. I don't know if they put in additional bracing or what. But anyway, you can't use the orchestra pit anymore, which is always a pain when you're doing a musical. But fairly common around here. I think only the Conexus Arts Center has a proper orchestra pit. Bookstores in here. University of Regina bookstore. When Globe Theatre does musicals, if they have an orchestra, it's either set in one of the escapes, where there are 4 exits around the stage. So you can block one of those with a small group. Or sometimes they've been up in the booths. Persephone Theatre in Saskatchewan is a proscenium theatre, and it has a proper orchestra pit. As I know, because I did Beauty and the Beast up there, 14 years ago now. It'll be 14 years this Christmas. Doesn't seem like that long ago. Also, the last time I did anything for Persephone Theatre, which is kind of too bad, but there you go. They've been in, like everything else, theater has been screwed up by the pandemic, and they had other issues up there, so. And I'm getting older. On the other hand, there's sometimes a shortage of older guys. So maybe I'll get a second career here going forward if I start auditioning again. Somebody told me I should audition at Stratford because, you know, there's a lot of small parts for older men, and any big name actor doesn't want to waste his time on them. But, you know, I could go and play a small part that has me on for 10 minutes at Act 2 or something like that. Hang out in Stratford for the summer. I don't know if that's really true or not. Anyway, I suspect my professional acting career, such as it was, and it wasn't much, has pretty much fizzled out at this point. Unless something presents itself. In fact, I even turned down an audition for a web series that's coming up because it wasn't convenient. Also, I wasn't a huge fan of the part or what I saw of the script, but the main reason was my October, when they will be shooting, was not really free to the extent I would want it to be to commit to something, even on the off chance that they had hired me. Actually, it would have been a major part, though, so I may regret that, but I doubt it. I try not to regret these things. Make the decision and move on. Okay, well, say goodbye to the university. Just a quick turnaround. Take me about 15 minutes to walk back to the car, and that'll be the hour. Because we're going to stay up here on the more straight path along Wascana Drive. Quick turn around the university today. I have spent more time around there and probably will again. My recordings of walking at the university always seem to attract more views, and my assumption is as prospective students or past students. And my novel awaits revision. Some geese hiss at you. Some just don't even seem to notice you. I don't know. I don't know how their little bird brains decide whether you need to be hissed at or not. Me, I'm a cat person. I'm way more threatened by a cat hissing at me than a goose. Way sharper claws and teeth. Just once, when I was a kid, I was seriously bitten by a cat. It was a stray, and it seemed friendly enough, but it turned, for whatever reason, it turned and sank it bit me seriously, and its teeth went up to the hilt and the fleshy part of my thumb, which meant a death sentence for the cat because they caught it and killed it and checked it for rabies, and thankfully it did not have rabies, because that was in the day when rabies vaccinations were, what was it, 12 shots to the stomach, something like that, and I was all of 9 or 10, so I'm very happy I did not get to add that bit of life experience, even though it might very well have informed a scene in one of my novels later. What it did teach me was, when house cats nip at you, that's just a warning. That's not a serious bite. If they seriously bite you, they'll take a chunk out of you, or at least puncture you thoroughly. Same with dogs, of course. It's really amazing that we let these animals into our house, especially cats, which are not really pack animals. They're just these little carnivores that share our spaces. And I love them. I love cats. Always liked cats. We had a few dogs, but they always came to bad ends. We had a cat that we assume he came to a bad end. He disappeared just before it moved to Canada. But then my cat since then, as a kid, worked out pretty good, and then the one cat we got when I was about 13 lived to be 18 or 19. Even though he was an outdoor cat, which, you know, we were out in the country, so perhaps it was a bit less dangerous, but there's coyotes and things too. Nice view from up here, because you're a little higher than you were down on the path, which is just down there. There are a lot of pelicans over there at that end of that creek. Something white, probably pelicans. Into that island, I mean. Then after that cat died, I didn't have a cat for years because, you know, it was easier to go places and not have to worry about a cat. And then I got married, and Margaret Ann's allergic, so we thought we couldn't have one. But then Betsy Wollheim, who with Sheila Gilbert are the publishers and owners of Daw Books, my publisher, she's allergic, but she lives successfully with a type of cat called a Siberian, which anecdotally some people who are allergic can. And you can actually test cats too to see how much of there's one main allergen. There's other allergens, but there's one main one that people who are allergic to cats are typically allergic to. So I did a lot of research, and she had a breeder, her copy editor's sister-in-law, if I remember right, down in West Virginia, I think, not Virginia. And she said, well, I'm going down there. She'd gotten kittens for other people. And she said, I'm going down there to look at the latest crop of kittens. Send you some pictures. And sent us a couple of pictures. And one of the kittens, this little black kitten, who she said liked to roll over and be petted whenever anybody came near. I thought, well, that sounds like a well-socialized, and this breeder did a great job of socializing their kittens. There was a YouTube video of our cat from the breeder before we had him playing fetch with them, because Siberians, well, they kind of play fetch. They play chase really well. They're not so great about bringing stuff back to you, but anyway. So he was well socialized, and we decided to take a chance on him. Got him for half price because he's black, and enough people are superstitious they don't like black cats. And I flew down to New Jersey, where Sheila lives, and stayed with her. And Betsy and her copy editor drove down to Virginia, or West Virginia, whichever it was, and picked up, no, actually they drove to Baltimore and met the breeder halfway, or however far that is. Drove down to Baltimore, picked up the cat, drove him back to New Jersey. It snowed that night, so they were driving in a snowstorm to bring this kitten to me, whom they nicknamed the Little Dark Lord because of his attitude. And I met him and stayed at Sheila's for a couple of days and did New Yorkish stuff. Had lunch with my agent and went to see a Broadway show at Daw's kind invitation. Saw Newsies on Broadway, which was great. Then I flew back with him, and that's how we got Shadow Paw. You could fly with him. He was 4 months old. He was still a kitten. You know, not a tiny kitten, but he was still a kitten. Put him in his carrier, put him under the seat in front of me, no worries. I think I had to pay $50 extra or something on Air Canada, if I remember right. And the only thing they insisted on to bring him into the country was a rabies shot, which he had. I had the paperwork for. So he wasn't even quarantined. Took him home, and he's been home with us ever since. And he'll be 9 in August. So should be good for a few more years. So the cat that Betsy has, that she lives with, the Siberian, is actually his uncle, Roscoe. As far as I know, Roscoe is okay. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. I haven't gotten together because usually I see Betsy and Sheila at either World Fantasy Convention or World Science Fiction Convention, and there's a Daw dinner and all the Daw authors and the Daw people go out for a wonderful dinner. But of course, there's been no conventions in person now. The last time I saw them was in fall of 2019 at World Fantasy Convention in Los Angeles. I went down. World Fantasy is in Montreal this year, and I am currently booked to go there. However, I know, I presume Betsy will be there, but I don't know that for sure. And I know Sheila's not going to be there. She's kind of the main reason I go is to meet with my editor in person. Not just because she's my editor, because we're friends. And there's now another complication at our end, so I may end up not going to World Fantasy even though it's in Montreal, which would be a shame, but some things take priority. World Science Fiction Convention is in Washington, D.C., but they're doing it in December just before Christmas, and I'm not making that trip at that time of the year. Not when Alice will be coming home from university, probably, about that time too, so maybe another year before I see them in person. Too much farther here. I was always excited about these conventions, World Science Fiction Convention, but they've become less and less interesting to me over time. And it's probably just, I don't know, it's getting older or what. They're good. I like meeting people, that I know and saying hi. Most of the programming leaves me cold. There's so much politics now in the field, and only one side of politics that you're really supposed to adhere to. And there's just an unpleasant feel sometimes that I don't particularly enjoy. Politics ruins everything as far as I'm concerned. So we'll get up here and we will just go over to the other side, and the cars just past the creek on the other side. In the parking lot by the marina. They've been watering along here, so there's actually slippery patches of mud on the sidewalk. This is where you can see some of the things that are coming to the Connexus Arts Center. Mini pops. Well, I won't be getting tickets for that. I'll cross at the light up here, I think, instead of going back under the bridge. Just to be different, since I came under the bridge to come this way. Although it's easier to just go under the... I'll go under the bridge, it's easier. Been a very quiet one on the live stream front. Kirk said hi from Vancouver, and that was it. Nobody has said hi on Facebook. Nobody else has said hi on YouTube. So you're probably watching this, if you're watching it, on the recording, and thanks for that. If you're watching it at all. If you're not watching it, well, you're not hearing me, so it really doesn't matter, does it? As far as I can tell, my sound has stayed on for the whole time. So one last look at the creek from this side. I'll come out to the little walkway over here and give you a panorama. If you look down, you'll see the cattails here. And of course, geese. There's always geese. under the bridge. And over the bridge. To grandmother's house we go. Something like that. Under the bridge and over the bridge to the parking lot we go. These railings were bright red when they first built this, and they faded. Probably mostly due to ultraviolet radiation, I would guess. And over there's the Pine Island with the waterfall I walked under on Friday. I always walk around the lake on Friday. And last Friday, I walked this direction for the first time since I started doing these counterclockwise, because all of our health restrictions are lifted, including the walking one way around the lake, which I always thought was the dumbest thing of all. But I've ranted about that before too. Bit of a landing beach here. Occasionally somebody will come over here and put a boat in the water at this spot. There's another boat ramp over there and a bunch of piers by the marina. Okay, here's our parking lot. So, thanks for watching, either live or the replay. And that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.